With a good smile. Okay, everybody, and welcome to today's CX Quick Tips Day and celebrating a happy CX Day to everyone. So happy CX Day to you, Roy. Happy CX Day to you. I have Roy Atkinson on the show with me today. And remember, we're just doing brief 10 minutes. So we're going to get down into some topics really quick. So Roy, you have been on many of our CX Quick Tips. I mean, and I've really appreciated your wisdom. And that's one reason why I'd love to have you. And we've kind of gone through the seasons, right? So spring, summer, and now we're hitting fall. So how can we make sure that our customer experience doesn't fall this 2021?
Well, one of the things you want to do when you set up a CX program, or as you're monitoring the customer experience, or whatever stage you're at in your organization, you want to make sure that you have some consistency built into that, right? Consistency really matters when it comes to customer experience. People want to get the same experience this week that they got last week, or the same as they got talking to this agent or that agent. However it is, you want to be consistent across the organization. And that's certainly true over time. You want to be able to have people come back and get the same wonderful experience that you gave them last time. So one of the things you have to monitor is all the points that you count, you measure, make sure that there's nice level and even and of course upward trending metrics that you have, so that you stay within the boundaries of that consistent delivery.
And as you were talking about that this morning, I went through, which was probably my 10th or more repeat contact on an issue that I'm having with a specialty pharmacy trying to get a particular medication sent. And it's been a nightmare. And even when I talk to, it's a dermatology issue. And so talking to the dermatologist, even when they hear that company's name, because they deal with a couple specialty pharmacies, I mean, they just cringe. I think that it's vitally important for you, like you were saying, is to emphasize that upward trending piece and to be certain that we're not just getting better at solving the exact same problems over and again. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. One thing you don't want to have that kind of consistency, right? You don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again. That stuff you can automate. You can get it done another way. You can offer people self-service, depending on the demographic, et cetera. Yeah, you don't want to be solving the same thing over and over again, but you do, no matter what the complexity of the particular issue is, the beauty of customer experience is that you can deliver a good experience in spite of that complexity. You can still reach the bar and surpass the bar a little bit. And you don't want to jack it up too much. You don't want to, always be prepared to deliver wow, but delivering wow every time, as we know, is extremely hard and maybe not so good. So the consistency matters. Let people get that same experience every time, but not the same thing.
Well, I think that's where you were talking about when we had our conversation earlier about keeping your eyes on the CX prize. So what is the CX prize?
So the CX prize is obviously delivering great customer experience and having customers come back, become lifelong customers, return for your services, become advocates for your products and services, your organization, however that works. Ultimately, you want to get them from the introduction to your brand, your company, your product, all the way through to becoming a good advocate for you, because that's the best kind of marketing, right? Is word of mouth. It's customer reviews. It's, those 5 stars. It's customers telling their friends and neighbors about you and what a great experience they had and how they'll go back to you. That's exactly what you want. So, keep your eyes on that prize, and that's part of the monitoring that delivery. I always say that customer experience is best when you can measure it as near to real time as possible. And we have tools now that will allow us to do that pretty well. So that's the prize, always consistent and always improving.
Well, a lot of us are sitting here and have a lot of concerns and worries, and some of us fears as far as us, starting to ramp up into our 2021 holiday season. So if you start looking at this season versus past seasons, what are some of the differences that you're seeing that we, absolutely need to be cognizant of?
Well, we know that e-commerce increased by about 44% in 2020, and it's so on the upward trend. So you got to make sure that your e-commerce ducks are in a row, as it were. Make sure that you're able to serve your customers that way, because not everybody's happy going out in public these days. There's a lot of inconsistency in people's responses, and make sure that your atmosphere and the way that you deal with people allows for that. And take into account that people may have certain vulnerabilities that make it less likely for them to go out. And make sure that you can deliver the breadth of your services to them across the holiday season and in a number of different ways, so that you can serve your e-commerce customers, your brick and mortar customers, if you have either one of those or both, with the same level of attention and the same kind of experience that they have and that they're used to.
Well, when you start talking about the holiday season, I mean, some are even starting it, now, and some I've even seen some advertising actually started like a month and a half ago, and they were trying to do the summer, holiday season, at least for summer, meaning us here in North America. But our first hurdle or opportunity, is getting into Halloween as our launch of the real holiday season that most of us are familiar with, not necessarily the commercial holiday. So what are some Halloween scary things that we need to, be more mindful of in this October?
Well, one of the things that is a nice little Halloween tie is don't ghost people, right? If they inquire of you or they have a request of you, don't ghost them. Be around for them to contact you and talk to you in one way or another, however that is, whatever means you use to communicate with your customers best. Make sure that you're there, but also make sure that you don't scare the heck out of them. I mean, be careful what you say. Words are powerful things, and sometimes we'll say something about enhancing the customer experience in one way or another that gives people the idea that we're getting a little bit creepy, that we might be stalking them, that maybe there's the Halloween monster over their shoulder. So make them feel welcome and let them know that you're not there to harm them in any way, or that you don't want to get creepy with them. Unless you do it, that's a bad thing. Let me just say that. It's a bad thing. Not good to get creepy. But those are the kinds of things that you have to watch out for. How people perceive what you say might be different from what you think you say. So be aware of that. The experience, when we talk about customer experience, the experience is the perception on the customer side. And that's always the most important thing, no matter what we're talking about.
Well, you talk about it from the, the inbound or, us from the servicing side, but what are some of the scary things that we have to be aware of in regards to the customer side, scary customers coming at us? And because when we start talking about shorter wicks, people exploding faster, polarization, all of those types of things. How do we prepare for that?
I'm wearing a suit of armor for my next airplane flight. There's some crazy stuff going on out there, and I'm not going to make light of it, because people are being harmed badly, and in some cases killed. People at the cash registers in the supermarket have to have this in the back of their minds now. That's very scary stuff. And I think that we have to be, again, being careful of what we say and how we say it. And even though we're delivering something that is, by the word, exactly what we're supposed to say, we still have to be careful. And that's really unfortunate that some of the people who are suffering from some of the scary stuff that goes on are the people at the low end of the pay scale, the people on and out in the front of the business. And, there's no way to justify any of that stuff. So if you're in that situation doing retail or out in front of an organization like that, be careful for sure. But, even putting all that aside, some customers are kind of scary anyway. So, listen for the cues and get some help if you need it, and pay attention to what's going on around you. Be situationally aware. Very important.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always held the responsibility of protecting my people from those that are attacking them.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I need to do that, I think you kind of hit on that's important as well. If I give them the right skills and I help to develop them, I also, set an expectation of a boundary, meaning of, okay, when it goes past this point, you don't have to deal with that, nor do you have to accept that abuse, because I'm here to protect you. And all employers, quite frankly, have that responsibility, both ethically from my perspective, as well as legally. And a lot of times they don't realize that your people don't have to put up with the stuff that is being shoveled upon them. If it's abusive in nature, you should protect them.
Absolutely. And that's a lesson I learned early on, watching my boss, who was the best at making sure that his staff weren't exposed to that. If he saw a customer getting abusive or something like that, he was right there, and made sure that even if the employee was wrong, he would make sure that to defuse that customer situation, get them, and if they continue to be abusive, gone, and then deal with the employee issue later. He was excellent at doing that, and I learned a lot from Tommy Nigerian, my first boss.
Roy Atkinson, always a great time to have a conversation with you and learn things from a more wise perspective. How do CX Quick Tip listeners get in touch with you?
Good way to do it is on Twitter, Roy Atkinson. Another way to do it is email roy@cliftonbutterfield.com. And I will see those, or on LinkedIn, of course, and come and find me. I'm around.
Roy Atkinson, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom on this CX Day 2021.
Happy CX Day, Jim.